Welcome to the Online Trainer Show, where we help fitness and nutrition pros take better care of their clients and build profitable businesses. I'm Jonathan Goodman, and as always, I'm joined by Amber Reynolds. We're happy you're here. Let's start the show. I kind of missed our bad elevator music.
I know. It's so like soothing. It is.
It's soothing, but it's kind of got this like jazzy vibe to it, right? Dun, 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 dun. Today we're talking about how to generate ideas that your clients care about. Is that right?
Yes.
So when I first saw this topic, it immediately jumped out to me that this is one of those topics where the title sounds really good, but the title isn't actually the problem, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, I can tell you, and we will talk a little bit about, you know, how to generate ideas and where ideas come from, but it's pretty boring and benign of a topic and not all that interesting. Like, you can Google how to get ideas for content. like that's not the problem. The problem isn't how to generate ideas that your client cares about. It's about presenting ideas in a way that they care. And those two things may sound like they're the same, but they're actually quite different. But as a title, and perhaps this is like maybe even part of the lesson, like as a title, you kind of gotta hook people in whenever you're creating any sort of content with the words that they're already using in their head. And my guess is you're probably not sitting at home or going for a walk, or I don't know, where you listen to podcasts on the toilet. Like, I don't know, where do people listen to podcasts? Whatever you're doing, you're probably not sitting, squatting, walking, you know, and thinking, yeah, I said it.
There's an image of squatting and walking all at the same time.
No, you're squatting or walking. I was thinking like a squatty potty. That was a toilet joke. You're probably not thinking, how do I present my ideas in a way that clients care about them? You're probably sitting there like, I feel like I got to create content today. And holy crap, what do I say? Because there's this pressure on all of us to be omnipresent. It's the weirdest thing ever. And it's quite frankly pretty annoying in a lot of ways, where, I mean, for some reason now you've got to have like 3 new ideas for content every single day in order to stay quote unquote relevant. And to me, that's answering the wrong question. And that's trying to tackle the problem the wrong way. You're not, if you're sitting there and saying, I need to come up with more good ideas, you're never going to be able to have enough ideas, because the amount of content that you think you probably have to put out, if none of your content is particularly impactful or hitting hard, is insurmountable. I mean, it's just straight up too much. But one good piece of content, literally one good piece of content, can do the work of 10,000 mediocre pieces of content. I mean, it's that radical of a difference. And so, to me, Amber, this topic is about really dialing down on figuring out a way to present your ideas in ways that people care. Does that make any sense, what I just said? Not the toilet stuff, the other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I tell students, and so I call it like a ethical bait and switch. So what are people actually
I love that.
Looking?
That's like starting a conversation by being like, no, I'm not racist, but
I know.
It's like literally like you're like a blazing hot racist if you say, no, I'm not racist, but like anything you say after that is going to be racist. You're like ethical bait and switch.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Like this is what somebody would be Googling. Like I guarantee you that we have students that are like, how do I generate content ideas? And then like you said, it's the wrong question, but because we know that's what they're asking, it provides us the opportunity to give them what they actually need. So we'll answer that question, but like also here's the more important thing that actually solves your problem.
Yeah. So yes. And I love that term, the ethical bait and switch. I mean, it makes so much sense, and it's a super valuable kind of concept to keep in mind. You know, the first thing that you really need to do is figure out what your potential clients are thinking, are worried about. And most notably, what they're frustrated by, or whom they dislike or hate. We talked about that a little bit before in a previous episode. You will have much more success binding people together and creating community against something that's a common enemy than you will against something that's a common goal. It's just human nature. And so you can do that in a way by just like blatantly calling out somebody and saying, this person's an idiot, and you'll get a few people who will go, rah, 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 rah. But I don't know. I don't really like doing that. I don't really want to do that over the course of my day. I mean, there's only so much. I actually heard Anderson Cooper talking about this the other day, which is interesting that I'm bringing it up here. Anderson Cooper is a news anchor, right? And he was talking about how he's pretty bipartisan most of the time and pretty even keeled, but there's been a couple times, particularly in the last administration, where in the United States, where he was very emotional and very opinionated, and he says, I think it's effective. He says, first of all, it was 100% real. Like, I didn't expect to break down crying on TV. There seems to be an entire new wave of media personalities whose entire platform is based around being angry at something new every single day. You can't always be angry at something. You can't always be emotional. And those people don't stick around, number one, because A, it's just exhausting. Number two, it kind of comes off as bullcrap after a little while. Like, there's a few people particularly in the United States, like political scene, who are just always angry at somebody new. And at a certain point, you're just like, you can't really be like that. So I don't personally like the approach. Even if you agree with me that you've kind of got to figure out what your people are frustrated by or angry about or dislike or whatever it is, or just want to overcome, right? I don't like the approach of calling it out straight up. I just don't think that the world needs more negativity. I think that there's a lot more creative ways to do this. And so this brings me to a character that that our team developed in the last couple of weeks, whose name is Pedro Ricardo de Malo. And Pedro is myself dressed up in the most ridiculous costume you'll imagine. Picture knee-high white socks, New Balance shoes, and old like 1980s gym shorts rolled up so you can see all my pasty legs. And it's actually a women's tank top, but a very tight. The support was fantastic, by the way. Can I just say that?
Detail I wasn't aware I needed.
Can I just say that? The support was really fantastic.
And the shape it gives you,
The shape it gives me was marvelous. And then I had a handlebar mustache that came down and like big puffy poofy hair. And you'll if you follow us stuff, you'll see me wearing this ridiculous getup. And this character is because one of the things that our company is against is the outdated paradigm of education in the fitness industry. The fitness industry, we call it big fitness. Basically, big fitness education is outdated. It's this kind of old fogey, outdated, greedy institutional thing where I don't believe that they're actually providing people who work in our industry what they need to survive and thrive. And at its core, that is why a lot of people in the industry are suffering. They're simply caught in the 1990s, right? They're not even educating people. These are all of the the big educational institutions. It's not even that they're not preparing you to like be the trainer of tomorrow. They're not even training you to be the trainer of today, right? And so we're very much against this. So I could come out and just bang off the rooftops and talk about how they suck and talk about how they're stupid and pick apart everything, or I can dress up like Pedro Ricardo de Malo as a caricature from the 1980s, from the 1990s. And I can talk about how fitness education's outdated, get with the program, be modern, and it's so ridiculous. And you go so far to the edge of the map. But you say so much without saying it, and you do it in such a memorable way. And I guess that's what I want to get across here is if you know your audience, right? And you know where you want to sit in your audience, you know what point you want to make, and you know what you want to basically communicate to them, and what angle you want to be in, what you're against, because you're legitimately against that thing. You don't necessarily have to go out and yell off the rooftops. You can create characters around it. You can be more creative around it that says a lot without you having to actually say it. And then you become the voice. Like you don't actually need to even say, we solve that problem. Because by being the person who articulates the problem on the big stage, right? It's immediately understood that you're also the people who are on the other side of the problem doing the good work. And it just kind of makes your job a lot easier doing it that way.
So then what we should probably talk about is how do they figure that out? Because that's going to be, it's a great concept, but for a lot of people just starting to be like, I don't know, like, yeah, carbs are bad, or the fitness industry, has, I see a lot of like, oh, I want to help with like myths of the fitness industry. And like, that's what we all kind of do, so you need to dial it in. Yeah. Which one are you talking about? Like what specifically? I love using things like, I joke and talk about Reddit all the time, but like especially if you have a demographic that's different than you, this is an amazing place to be like a fly on the wall because it's anonymous. Nobody knows what you really are. So if you are a guy and work with women, subscribe to a few, women oriented subreddits and just be a fly on the wall and check out and see what they're talking about. Quora is another great place and see what questions are being asked and what is coming up for your demographic. And so you can, by taking in information and consuming stuff, you'll find it. You're just not natively going to know. You have to do your market research to kind of figure it out and talk to people and consume information and be in places where your ideal target market is to figure that out. So yeah, I love the idea of what you're talking about there though.
I mean, if you already have, well, there's a few things that you can do to figure this out really easily. If you already have an audience of your target market that is in a community that you manage, maybe it's on your own social media page or maybe in a group that you have, or even if you're in a group that's not yours, as long as it's allowed for you to post stuff, you can just post like this line, just what's the one thing that you hate most about blank? What's the one thing you hate most about how people treat women in the fitness industry? What's the one thing you hate most about how little people understand about carbs or whatever, right? People will tell you, and then you'll have their language. And then from that, it's just a matter of saying, okay, well, I know, like I know that this is going to be my kind of, I know that I'm going to take some sort of aim at this problem. And then just go for a walk and say, what's the edge of the map I can go to here? And there was a good example that I saw, Mike Matthews, if you know of him. I like the guy a lot, super smart guy. I was on his podcast a little while back too. But Mike Matthews has a supplement line called Legion. And Legion is all about all natural, no additives, no proprietary blends, that kind of thing. And so what are they against? They're against people who are just putting like all of these additives and crap in supplements. And they just don't care about the customers or whatever it is. And they just came out with a series of commercials. And the commercials are basically this like scummy gangster guy talking about how his brother is such an idiot because he doesn't even know that you don't people don't care what's in supplements any day. You can just put any crap you want in them. And he's wearing like the big gold chain. And this guy is what you hate, but the commercial is actually about him. And he's just like, people don't care. You can make this stuff so cheap and sell it for whatever you want and just put whatever you want in there. Meanwhile, my brother over there, Mikey, he's making all this clean stuff, and then it goes to him in this like beautiful, clean like lab, you know, putting the stuff together carefully.
Nice.
Right? Like that's such a great example of you're taking aim at an entire industry and immediately placing your service or product on the other side of it as the solution to the problem. Even if there are other solutions to the problem. You know, is his the only supplement that doesn't have additives or preservatives or whatever? No. But because he's the one to call it out in this creative, memorable way, well, now they own that part of the market. And so that's just another example to get your wheels turning of just doing this creatively. Like this character that we developed, Pedro Ricardo Di Mallo, who our audience named, but I think it's a hilarious name, so I'm just going to keep it. How did we get, like we literally went to Value Village, got, you know, pants and a shirt, ordered a wig and a mustache off Amazon. Like the whole thing cost like $15. I mean, it costs nothing. And you see people doing
Best investment ever.
Best investment ever. You see people doing this. Sohee Lee does a good job of this. Syed does a good job of this on Instagram where, you know, if they're trying to make a point, they'll basically have two people talking and they'll like go into character of this ridiculous, like over the top caricature of the quote unquote bad guy. And I just think it's a really fun, creative way to make a point positively without calling anybody else out, without even being negative, right? Where you're so clearly positioning yourself on the other side.
And having fun, because I mean, ultimately, we should be having fun in what we do, and why not do it that way?
Well, that too. That too. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, I think that's it. I think we nailed it.
Sweet. That was good.
Agree?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah,
All right.
Let's do another one. Yeah, let's do another one.
All right, sounds good. Bye, y'all.
Bye.